Former Trump foreign policy advisor Walid Phares is our guest now to talk about this weekend. Walid, all of these developments come ahead of a G7 meeting. How does what's happening now with the trade war with China fit into that context as the president talks to some of these G7 colleagues, do you think, this weekend?
Well, it depends on what the results will be before President Trump goes to the G7 meeting. He intends, according to his tweets, of showing a lot of strength in our position in terms of negotiations. We know that there is an escalation between China and the Trump administration, but we know at the same time that there is a determination on both sides to get to a deal at one point in time, but each one wants the advantages that they consider as a priority to them. There are other subjects at the G7 which also will be examined very closely.
Of course. One of the things I find interesting, though, on the trade front is that many of these countries, I should say, in the G7 are still doing business. Not that we're not doing business, but are still doing business with China. Yeah. In terms of they, still have a relationship, say, with Huawei, which has been blacklisted here in the United States. Is there progress that the president can make to bring him around to his position, which is to say, hey, we should cut off all that kind of thing?
The Trump administration, the U.S. in general, has two fronts now with regard our partners across the Atlantic. One is with China, but we have not asked officially, I suppose, those European governments to do exactly what we are doing. But the other front that would be raised as well is Iran. Yeah. I mean, we have withdrawn from the Iran deal, and yet European countries are not just doing business with Iran, but they are putting mechanisms to protect that business with Iran. So I think the agenda is going to be pretty full at the meeting.
Is there a way to leverage our relatively strong economy versus theirs to get anywhere on any of those issues, do you think? And if so, how?
It's a good point. Actually, it's not the governments who are going to be influenced by the fact that we have the strongest economy. It's their companies. And the choice has always been over the past few months, do you want to trade with Iran or with the United States in terms of economy? The answer is very clear. With regard to China, it's a different ballgame.
It is a different ballgame. But always good to see you, Walid. Thanks for coming on. Walid Phares joining us today.